A syndrome implies something that is clinically wrong, something that requires a diagnosis, treatment, intervention. There is something wrong with me. I have a condition. It needs to be fixed. I need to be fixed. It's not a symptom. It's a signal. It means you're operating at the edge of your competence, which is exactly where development happens. Welcome back to The Hard Skills. I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, and today I want to challenge something that gets repeated so often in leadership and career spaces that it's almost become background noise. I want to talk about imposter syndrome. Yes. Specifically, I want to talk about why that phrase, extremely overused, overworn phrase, may actually be making things harder for the very people it's meant to help. Here's something most people don't know. The researchers who originally identified this experience back in 1978 were psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, and they never called it a syndrome. They called it imposter phenomenon, a phenomenon. That is not a small distinction. A phenomenon is something you observe. A syndrome implies something that is clinically wrong, something that requires a diagnosis, treatment, intervention. And when we call it a syndrome, that is exactly the message people receive. There is something wrong with me. I have a condition. It needs to be fixed. I need to be fixed. For most of the people that I work with, the framing is both inaccurate and counterproductive, honestly. Let me describe the profile of someone most likely to report imposter experiences. They are highly credentialed. They've spent years, sometimes decades, becoming an expert in a highly demanding field: medicine, law, research, engineering, academia. They hold themselves to high standards. They're surrounded by other people who hold themselves to high standards in the same way. And they're constantly pushing themselves to learn more, do more, grow. Now, what do you think it feels like to be that person? It feels like not knowing enough ever. Like the bar keeps moving. Like everyone else might be more confident, more prepared, more certain. But here's the thing. That feeling is what growth actually feels like. It's not a symptom. It's a signal. It means you're operating at the edge of your competence, which is exactly where development happens, which feels very uncomfortable. Now, let me add another layer, because this is where I see most of the unnecessary suffering happening. What happens when a highly trained technical expert moves into a leadership role? In most organizations, it goes like this. You were excellent at your technical work. We want to promote you because of your excellence in your technical work. And suddenly, you're expected to lead teams, navigate organizational politics, manage people through change, develop others, make decisions with incomplete information. No one hands you a curriculum. No one acknowledges that you've just entered a completely different field. You're just expected to know. And here's the paradox. Because these professionals within these professions spent years becoming genuine experts, their standard for competence is very high. They assume that if they don't feel like they know something, it means there's something wrong with them. What they don't realize is they've moved into a brand new field, one that requires just as much learning and training as the first one did. Leadership, team dynamics, organizational behavior. These are specialized bodies of knowledge. It's organizational development. It's team development. It requires a totally different skill set. But nobody tells you that. So the discomfort isn't imposter syndrome. It's the appropriate experience of a learner in unfamiliar territory. And they don't realize they're adding a specialization on top of their current expertise. Also, specifically for women and others who have been marginalized, feeling like an imposter comes with the territory. If you are constantly told you don't belong, and you have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard, 10 times as hard to get into spaces where you've been told you don't belong, what do you think you're going to feel? Like you don't belong, right? Like you don't belong. It's a feeling imposed on you, meant to make you uncomfortable in spaces that aren't always welcoming. Maybe they should call it imposter syndrome, right? It's imposed on you. If you're in a position of being a mentor, supervisor, or sponsor of someone who feels like an imposter, how can you help them? The first thing to do is not treat it like some kind of personal failing that they feel like they don't belong in a space that they already know not everybody wants them in. It's not theirs to fix. Instead, you can help them manage their experience by saying it's normal reaction. It's a normal reaction to trying on something new, to pushing into new territory, to allowing themselves to be uncomfortable as they grow into their next level of leadership. This alone can empower instead of disempower. Now, I want to be really careful here because I don't want to swing to the other extreme and say that all self-doubt is just growth and everyone should push through it. That would miss something really important. There is a meaningful difference between self-questioning that's tied to context, like to a new role, a new challenge, a new level of responsibility, and self-doubt that is chronic, pervasive, and disconnected from evidence. If the self-doubt doesn't shift, even when you get positive feedback, even when you achieve things, even when others affirm your competence, that is a different pattern. That's more consistent with chronic low self-esteem or anxiety, and it does warrant more than reframing. And in that case, working with a therapist who understands high-achieving populations and adult development can make a real difference. The skill, and this is a leadership skill, is knowing which one of these you're dealing with. So here's what I want you to leave with today. The next time you catch yourself using the term imposter syndrome, pause for a moment and ask, is this actual pathology? Or is this about a competent person who's learning something genuinely hard or pushing into uncomfortable spaces where they've been told they don't belong? Because if it's the latter, the answer isn't to diagnose. It's not to diagnose yourself or someone else with it. It's to find the right support for that transition, whether that's a coach who understands the expert to leader journey, a therapist with clinical knowledge of high-achieving populations, or a community of peers navigating the same terrain so you don't feel alone, right? The experience is real. The discomfort is real. But the story you tell about what it means, that part you can shape. And those are the hard skills. I'm Dr. Mira Brancu. See you next time. And if you're looking for a community and support that helps with exactly this, I'm building my next cohort of strategic leaders. I'm going to drop a link to the interest and waitlist form within my show notes, or you can go to my website at gotowerscope.com and find the Strategic Leadership Resiliency Fellowship link to learn more. Until next time, stay steady, stay present, and keep building those hard skills muscles.